It used to drive me really crazy when people would ask me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The reason was because I like so many things. I remember thinking to myself, I'd love to write a book, I'd love to be a pilot, a cop, maybe a doctor or a lawyer. I'd love to be an inventor and an architect. And I went through all these phases.
Caring for others is part of your life, but it's not all of it. This is your space for growth, confidence, and connection to the whole you. Welcome to the Dalitalks podcast.
I remember in middle school, I think it was, or junior high is what we called it back then. I took a wood shop, and I took wood shop because I figured it would teach me like some of the fundamentals of architect. And I was really good with math up until junior high. That's when I lost my confidence in it, and it stayed that way. So I remember kind of feeling deflated, and I was thinking, well, maybe not an architect. Maybe I can move on to do something else. And then at 16, I found out that I needed glasses. And so my dream to become a pilot died there because I thought nobody's going to take me because the requirements are 20/20 vision. I believe that that's changed now. Anyway, I struggled with that decision for many years, even while I was in the military, and I spent 10 years in the military. But there was one thing that I was certain that I wanted to do, and that was to help people. The most difficult job that I had in the military was being a drill instructor, a drill sergeant. It was really hard because the hours were extremely long, and it was physically and mentally challenging. But I remember that I felt really alive every time that a soldier came to me with a problem and I was able to fix it for them. I also helped a lot of them overcome some of their own fears, and they got promoted. I remember teaching them certain things about military education that was pretty challenging for them. One of the things that we had to do was memorize Army regulations, and I was fascinated by that because it's like the nerdy stuff that I didn't realize back then that I liked so much. But I remember going through the study guide and just learning it all, just memorizing things, and then passing it on because I wanted to help them see in themselves the leadership that was living within. And every time they won a Soldier of the Month board or that they got a promotion, I celebrated them. And one of the things that I also loved to do was to give monthly counselings of positive things. Normally in the military, you get a monthly counseling if you do something wrong. I hated that because I felt like we should point out the positive things, the strengths that people have so that they feel proud about what they're doing right and so that they keep working on it and strengthening that. And I did that at a very young age. I remember I think I was 24 or 25 when I became I was 25 when I became an E6, a staff sergeant. So it was, now looking back, it was kind of unique that a leader that was so young had that mentality. And honestly, I think that that mentality came from the frustration that I felt when the only time that someone would come and give me feedback was when I had done something wrong. I hated it because I also wanted to know, well, what am I doing right? I left the military after 10 years, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was so frustrated, and I almost felt like something was wrong within me for not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I decided to go to college, get a degree because I had been through 130 some credits worth of classes, but I didn't have a degree because I couldn't decide on what to do with my life. One day I took an elective class. It was within the English department. and it was called Women's Stories, Women's Words, or something like that. And it was such a unique English class because we would read this literature and then we would analyze it with the lens of gender. And I discovered that there was this thing called Women and Gender Studies. And I was immediately in love with it. I thought maybe it was like an anthropology based class or sociology because it was about the study of humans and their gender and, like how certain things impact people because of their gender. And I just felt so alive. So I remember speaking to Dr. Moran, my professor for that class, and she explained what women and gender studies was. And immediately I decided to change my major from, I think I had gone from business to general studies to women and gender studies. And I ended up transferring to university with that focus. And I got my bachelor and master's in women and gender studies. And the concentration that I went into was social policy and leadership because having been in the military as a Latina, as a woman, I was intrigued with how leadership from women is perceived in the world and how could I, as an individual, help other women thrive and overcome the obstacles that they faced because I had experience in that. I remember being discriminated because I was too young. I was told I was really, really good at my job. But when it came to promotions or certain competitions, they said, no, you're too young or you haven't been in the military for that long. So you should just sit this one out. And I persisted. Luckily, I had a really, really good mentor, a warrant officer who would guide me. And I listened because I really did not want to be the worker bee forever. I wanted to lead and I wanted to do something with my career. If I was going to be in the military, I needed to do something big. And I feel like I did. I did really, really well. But anyway, so in college, I studied women and gender studies. And it was this eye-opening world where a lot of things that I learned resonated so much. I remember my first memory feeling that it was so unfair to be denied something simply for being a girl. And I was like 5 years old. And I realized that throughout the years when I felt that way about different things, I just didn't have the language to express what I was feeling and what I was seeing. And then suddenly this field of study gave me all of the words that I was looking for. All of the nuances made sense. All of the systems that I saw in society made sense. And although it made sense, but it made me angry too. But I also learned that I didn't have to go along with it. And that is something that I felt like I had already been doing on my own, and people thought I was just this rebel kid. Like, for example, I did not join the military and get a traditional quote unquote female job. I wanted to be a mechanic because I wanted to experiment and try it out because I saw the military as an adventure. So I figured, why not? And of course, the recruiter lied to me and he said, you can always change your job later, which, yeah, you can, but it takes a long, long time. And it's not that easy. But coming back to women and gender studies, when I tell people what I studied, they don't understand it. A lot of them say, oh, you're a social worker, which is insulting. It's like, hello, no, look, I mean, nothing against social workers, but it's like, don't dismiss what I've worked so hard to study. And again, my concentration was social policy and leadership. And I chose social policy because I was very intrigued with the study of policies and how they impact men and women, how they help or hinder their rights or access to resources, or the way that society upholds them. And all of this just made so much sense to me. And it's interesting how to this day, a lot of this is tied into the work that I do as a bullying awareness and prevention educator. There are so many ways that we move through society, and we have to code switch sometimes just to get through certain obstacles. And I say this all to say that in business, we have to be very intentional with how we present with ourselves. And I mean, some people say, well, that's a shame, but I think that everybody does it, men and women. It's just that it's still true for a lot of us women that we have to try harder and go the extra miles, not mile, to make sure that we're heard in the room. And this brings me now to March, Women's History Month. One of the things that I learned through my studies in college was the enormous neglect of achievements of women, because it is a benefit to males that they be seen as the achievers, the ones that make the world run. And then when you look within, though, when you look deeper, you see that the ones who are actually making so much happen are women, through unpaid labor, through their talents and skills that are seen as unworthy of being paid for. It makes me very angry, but it also makes me realize how incredibly amazing we are. And so during Women's History Month, I like to focus on featuring women that we don't hear too much about. And just the other day, I was putting my writing portfolio together, and I saw this link to the very first book that I actually published online. And it is called Embracing Differences, 21st Century Women Debunking Stereotypes. And what I decided to do, this was in 2017, and I had already been out of college 3 years by then, because I graduated with my master's in 2014. So I thought to myself, what women do I know right now, whether I know them personally or that I know of their existence right now, they're still alive, that I can feature to let the world know, hey, here are these women. So I chose my friend Stella Prazeres. She's the first woman who has been able to bring passion fruit seeds from me and make them fruitful, make them grow in deserted land. So she did this experiment through USDA in Riverside, California. And this fruit is not supposed to thrive in such hot, dry desert temperatures, but she achieved this. And I thought that was really, really good, because it's an important thing for people to know in the agricultural field. And she is extremely brilliant. The girl is so impressive. And I'm still friends with her. She's just incredible. She still works in the agricultural business. Then it's Dali Rivera, no relation. This woman is pretty amazing. She's an aerospace engineer and former rocket science with NASA. She turned corporate trainer, keynote speaker, TV host, actor, producer, author, comedian. She went to Texas A&M, got a Bachelor of Science degree in aerospace engineering, and she worked for McDonnell Douglas Space Systems at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. And she worked on NASA's space shuttle and space station programs, which is really cool, because you know that there's women working in these fields, but you don't hear their names. So I wanted to make sure that her name was a recognizable name. And is it today? No, it isn't. But I'm still working on that. Obviously, I'm still here talking about her. So after 8 years working with NASA, she just felt a need to change. And so she left it. But other women that I featured who were not very well known back then, I think as they are now, like Misty Copeland, who was born in Kansas City, Missouri. She's the first African-American female principal dancer. And she's not retired. If you were watching the Oscars, you may have seen her in the performance of Sinners. It was just so beautiful to see her on there. The other person I featured on there, Simone Manuel from Sugar Land, Texas. She's the first African American to win an Olympic gold medal in swimming the 100-meter freestyle.
In this eighth final, the contender hopes.
I'm Simone Manuel. I'm from Sugar Land, Texas. In 2016, I became the first Black American woman to win an individual Olympic gold medal in swimming. When I was in the sport growing up, I didn't feel like I fit in. I started the Simone Manuel Foundation because I want to help BIPOC children better be able to navigate the swim space.
And this was at the 2016 Olympics. Also, Peggy Annette Whitson. She grew up in a farm in Iowa, and she's an American NASA astronaut and a biochemistry researcher. And she applied to become an astronaut for 10 years. 10 years. And it paid off. So she became the first woman to command the ISS, the International Space Station. And I love that. Like, it's so cool because I'm such a fan of the ISS, let me tell you. Anything that I can read about it, I will, because I find it to be such an incredible thing to have in this world, and just like the type of work that goes on there and how astronauts survive out there. It's just incredible. The other person I want to introduce you to is Olga Custodio. She was born in Puerto Rico but grew up traveling because her dad was in the military service, and she always wanted to be in the military. And I got to hear this story directly from her because I met her at VWISE, the Veteran Women Igniting the Spirit of Entrepreneurship. In 2011, it was in San Antonio, and she actually is from San Antonio. That's where she resides. And I remember she was telling me her story that she wanted to be a pilot. And when she tried to enlist, she was told, nope, sorry, we don't take women. And so later, Olga applied to the U.S. Air Force Officer Candidate School and was accepted because they had just opened the opportunity to women. And so she became the first Latina to complete the Air Force military pilot training. Her first assignment was a pilot instructor for the undergraduate pilot training T-38. And later she was a pilot instructor of the T-41. She was also Air Force Reserve. So while she was in the reserve, she was hired by American Airlines, becoming the first Latina captain of a commercial airliner. And she retired after 20 years, having flown over 11,000 miles. She has been the vice president of the Hispanic Association of Aviation and Aerospace Professionals. And she is a huge advocate of getting kids into STEM and into aviation. Her quote is, "Querer es poder. Where there's a will, there's a way." The other person, who's also a real good friend of mine, is Graciela Tiscareño Sato, a Mexican-American entrepreneur and Air Force veteran. I believe I met her through Olga. I want to say Olga introduced me to her. It's been a while, y'all, so it was around the same time frame, probably 2010 or 11. And she was an aviator on a KC-135 refueling aircraft. Please Google this amazing aircraft. It is incredible. They use this aircraft to refuel other aircraft while in flight. The way that they do it is incredible. It is really, really cool. And she earned her master's in international management and marketing. She's also an author of a series of books called Good Night, Captain Mama, where she talks pretty much about being a woman crew member for the KC-135 in the U.S. Air Force. She has been Entrepreneur of the Year by Latina Style magazine in 2014. And she was recognized as a champion of change by the Obama administration. The next person I think that everybody should know about is Isabela Springmull Tejeda. And hopefully I said her first last name correctly. But she's a Guatemalan designer, and she's the first designer known to have Down syndrome. At the age of 19, she was a prominent figure in the fashion industry. And she really debunks that stereotype that people with Down syndrome can't achieve huge things. So I love that about her. I think that everybody should know about her achievements. Another wonderful person I think is important for us to learn about is Erin Schroed. She's the youngest woman to have ran for Congress at the age of 25 during the 2016 November elections. She ran for California's District 2 in Marin County, where she was born, and she was really known for her activism rooted by her passion to fight environmental change, public health, and equal justice. She's also an American social entrepreneur and an environmental and human rights advocate. She co-founded turninggreen.org in 2005, a nonprofit that educates and motivates students to become socially and environmentally aware of issues that affect them. Another person I included in this book is Asia Brown. She is Compton's youngest elected mayor in 2013. She was 31 at the time, and she's also Compton's first female mayor, having defeated 12 candidates for the running. That's a huge achievement. She was born in Altadena, California, with her fraternal twin brother, but later moved to Pasadena. Received a full academic scholarship to the University of Southern California, where she earned a bachelor's degree in policy, planning, and development, and her master's is in planning and development. I felt like she definitely had to make it into the book. And lastly, I included myself in the book because I don't think that a lot of people know of Army mechanics. I was born in Nicaragua. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, came to the US at the age of 7, and grew up very, very poor, decided to go into the military as a mechanic, thinking, I'm just going to do this for fun for a few years and then do something else, hopefully be a linguist, because I've always been a fan of languages. Well, my friends, that did not happen. I got stuck as a mechanic, but it wasn't all bad. I got to do a lot of really, really amazing things. And like I said earlier, I got to mentor and find my way to my passion, which is to help people. One of the things that I've definitely learned about myself is that I am very passionate about injustice. And I think that to this day, it hurts so much when I see injustice or when I hear of it. I probably still take it way too personal. But the way that I try to balance it out is by knowing that what I'm doing as a bullying prevention educator is that I'm educating and empowering parents so that kids don't fall into the activities that society says are normal but actually hinder us, and so that they are as safe as possible. I know this is a huge undertaking. I'm not going to go save the world. I know that. But every time that I work with somebody and they thank me for giving them the answers to what they're looking for, it just feels really amazing. I know that there is value in it. I know that there are a lot of people looking for it. And my ask to you is to please connect me with those who are seeking this type of information. Also, to continue to dig for information about the women that you have not heard of. They're out there. And I have different lists. I have a list on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. Every time I see like first woman to do this or that, I save it, because one day I'm going to write a book and I'm going to have all these women listed, just for people who want to know, right? One day we will stop, hopefully, saying, oh, this is the first woman to, because right now we're still in that era where opportunities are not being given to women. We're still hearing people that believe that women have not contributed anything to society, which is crazy that they even believe that. Some people believe that women have never invented anything at all. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I do like that the Women's History Month evolved from being 1 week long, and it's become an initiative throughout the entire world to focus on the achievements that women have contributed to the world, the things that are still working against us, and solutions that we need to implement. So to recap, we went over my dilemma with what should I be when I grow up and how that led to what I do today as a bullying prevention educator. But I also spoke about the women that you should know. I'm going to give you access to this old book of mine. And so you'll see the Dalitalks logo has drastically changed. It's gone through some variations. So tell me, from all the women that I went over, which ones do you find more interesting? And what woman would you like me to know about? I might already have her on my long lists of names, but it's really cool anyway to hear other people mention some women that I've known of that are not like a common name in the media. So thank you so much for listening to me today. Please share this episode, have conversations with your family members about these women, and also think about how can you actively make a change to improve the lives of women today, whether it's sharing information, starting up an awareness campaign, fundraising, running for office, offering a certain curriculum, anything at all. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.
Hey.